Well, it's an exciting time of year for all Florida State baseball fans out there, and the Noles coming off another legendary season a year ago in the College World Series in Omaha, Nebraska. If you listen closely, you can hear the animals already singing, "Oh, Canada, we're ready to go," and we're here.
In the fifth already.
We're in the fifth already, and we're here with the head coach, Link Jarrett. It is great to see you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Always great talking to you. How excited are you about your baseball team this year?
I love the way the guys have competed to prepare. Like, you have to compete to get yourself ready to get into this grind, and they have done that. And honestly, Jeff, I think they're a little frustrated, and I think some of that frustration leads you into diligent hard work. And there's a taste in your mouth that is hard to get rid of in the way that shook out. But that's okay. You know, that's reality, and you have to face that, and you have to learn from some of those moments. As great as it was last year, I mean, you think about the start. I've never been the last undefeated team in the country. I thought that was really cool. And you go through some of the really neat moments, and there were difficulties. There were some really difficult weekends that we had. When the dust settled, you're very proud of what they achieved, and you also do respect and appreciate the fact that when we meet in this room every day, there's a little bit of frustration with how it ended. And that's okay, and that's good, and it's good for me, and I think it's good for the athletes. And the new players, half the roster's really new, and I don't think that's uncommon in this era. That feeling permeates to them too. And I think it builds a toughness. It galvanizes the group a little bit, because you hope you don't let that happen again.
Yeah. A year ago, the 2024 version of Florida State baseball, it was a group that mashed home run after home run, offensive numbers through the roof, some tremendous pitching, but run prevention, a big part of that success. This year's version, the 2025 version of Florida State baseball, we haven't seen it yet, obviously, in action, but how would you describe the makeup of your team, the way you've assembled this roster comparatively to what you had a year ago in 24?
Well, preparing the roster is unlike, I've done this 25 years, I guess, and getting to the point where the dust settles and fall classes start and there's 40 guys in this room, to get to those 40 with all of your incoming players being eligible essentially for the draft, the high school guys, the JUCO guys, and some of the transfers that are a little older. No other sport deals with that. And it is wild. And then you have guys that leave, and you have some transfers in. Then all of a sudden I walk through that door, and here's 40 players, and you almost have to take a deep breath and go, all right, here are the Noles. Yeah. So you might want to build things a certain way. And as coaches, we all have a picture of what you want it to look like. But in this era, you have to try to acquire the most capable athletes and pitchers that you can. And then you have to manage the personnel based on what you have. And you have to inject your concepts of how to play immediately, because not all the players have been in your system for a year or two or three. Yep. It's tough. So I think we have a very athletic group of position players. I do. The outfield group will be the most dynamic in terms of just run and go get it that I've seen. Now, last year, the outfield group was the most dynamic in terms of hitting the ball in the trees that I've seen. So there's different ways to go about being a good team. And we have to, as coaches, after the recruitment, which is hard, is over, how do you best use the athletes and the personnel you have? You do have returning faces. That is nice. It's nice to have that, you know, and you have West, and you have Lodis and Farrow and Max Williams. Fisher was probably what you would think in one period of time. That's what a freshman should do, all right? Fisher got 65, 70 at-bats. He got to play. He's over there with Cam. He's out there with Lodis, and he's around Tibbs and Jaime and Marco. Now he's ready to go. And I don't know how many home runs he's hit. He hit one over the scoreboard the other day. Last night he hit one like off the flagpole in center field. So, like, that's what you hope you have in some of the returning guys. And then you bring in players, and I like it. On the mound, clearly you hope Jamie continues to make a trend in the right direction. The development of the changeup has been fun to watch. And, you know, he'll throw Friday, and you'll have every organization in Major League Baseball represented again to watch practice.
Yeah.
So that tells you the capabilities of him. Then you have two other lefties that have stood out, Joey Vellini and Wes Mendez on the mound, both transfers, one from University of South Florida and one from Ole Miss, both from Tampa Jesuit, where Jamie Arnold is. To think you ended up in a place where all three of your starting pitchers could be on the weekend from the same high school is it's very unique. And it says a lot about what people think of our program when guys enter here that were other places but happen to be from the same high school as some of your other guys. If we run those guys out there in that order this weekend, that doesn't mean we're married to that down the stretch. If you look at what happened with the rotation to open last season, look at it halfway through the season, look at it at the end, look at the postseason, you probably couldn't tell me. I don't know. I'm not sure I could tell you. That's how much it has to ebb and flow. So the guys have to go out and perform this weekend. And for us to stick with that. But when you start to line up the days they're throwing as starters, then it makes their weight room time mesh better with their pitching, their throwing program, the arm care, the prehab stuff. So the sooner you can start to settle in that mode, the better off. And then we have 4 other guys that are still in a starter profile with their pitching buildup. So we want to lengthen that out. And clearly after this weekend, it becomes more difficult. So we're going to use this last weekend to extend some guys, and hopefully you get a legitimate starter on a Tuesday. And then you have 4 guys out of the gate that might be able to plan out what they're doing. And I thought Michael was beautiful the other night when he talked to the team. He said, we're the Navy. Okay, so some of you have an idea of what the naval group will do, and then we have to have some SEALs. So he compared the relievers to the special ops part of the military that has to come into situations and figure out how to manage difficult moments versus maybe things that are more planned out. So I thought Micah was beautiful. Then I was just like, that's great. I don't know if you've been saving that one, but so you have to have guys in leverage moments out of that bullpen that can navigate some difficult things. And honestly, every inning we play matters. If you look back at our season last year, how many meaningless innings were there when you're trying to win a championship, when you're trying to host, when you're trying to win a region? There's not many innings that are so they're all leverage innings when the starting pitcher leaves. So that's where we are. And I do feel good. And again, the work and the hunger, it's a unique feel I have with this group.
A guy behind the plate that'll be managing this pitching staff is Tallahassee native Jackson West. Coach, I know that he has worked hard in the weight room, put on some good weight, and really has worked on improving. He got hot at the end of the year at the plate, obviously. Did some great things for you there. What are you most proud of right now with the work that Jackson has put in the offseason to better position himself for the long run of 2025?
Well, he knew he wore down last year. And we weigh the guys. They jump in there with Jamie every week, and they weigh in. And when you see, as it gets hot and you're logging a lot of innings behind the plate and you're getting beat up, and it was a little difficult. Like, he didn't play a lot as a freshman. Minimum at best at Alabama. So now he's thrust into this, and he took charge, and some of the hits he had down the stretch, I mean, key home runs and base hits. So when the dust settled, he realized, okay, physically, I can't find myself in that condition through the long haul. So he took ownership in what was going on in the weight room. But if you're not eating right and eating at the right time and eating the right thing, you can do all the work in the weight room you want. Your body doesn't receive it well. So he did all of that. And then you look at the technical side, Brad Vanderglass, who works with the catchers. Those guys are down there every day, and it's very detailed, and it is on point and methodical with how they go about what they're doing with their receiving and their blocking. And then you get into the throwing stuff and the other details of the defense. He's taken ownership in all of that. Offensively, the strength helps, but he's been consistent. The guy walked out here last year with a different stance. It seemed like every time we took batting practice, he's going to try this and he's going to try that. Well, at some point you have to figure out what works for you, and then you have to hone in and do it. And I've seen him take all of those steps forward in his personal physique and then the development of the skills.
Coach, final question. The fans here at Florida State, obviously it was a magical run throughout all of last year. No surprise to you.
No surprise.
Living here, obviously, and living and breathing and and being a part of this throughout your entire life. What's your messaging to your players, especially some of the new guys, about the fan support that we have here at Florida State?
We talk about it a lot, and we did fly ball communication last night under the lights. We just wanted to get them under the lights because even the guys on the team last year, it's been a while since we've seen balls go up at dusk. And I talk often about when we're doing some of these things and you're calling fly balls at 7:15 on a Tuesday night with nobody in the stands, the fans that are going to be here and the animals and what's going on in the games that we play, you have to think about that volume and that atmosphere when you're calling fly balls and when you're communicating on your relays and the bunch stuff that happens. You have to be loud. And the fact that you have to talk about that starts the process for them to understand what this is going to feel like when the best fans in the country pack this place. And it will be packed. It will be packed. And I've coached all over the country, clearly, and no matter where I go, the animals and our fans are a part of the conversation when Florida State baseball comes up. So it's not just me and us that know and live it. People think about it, and the opposing teams are excited about it. And it's not comforting to walk in here, and I've done it, in the other dugout when you know that the bulk of this is really against you and creating an environment that's tough. So the fans are the best. And I've tried to prepare the guys, and I think the returners, again, even in the locker room when I'm not around, they start to explain, and it carries a lot of weight for what's coming for the kids that haven't really seen this in full force yet.
Coach, we can't wait. We're so excited to see your baseball team. All the best to you and your staff and the players. And thanks so much for your time as always.
Thank you, sir. We need our 9 days, but we're getting close.
We're getting close, ladies and gentlemen. He's Link Jarrett. My name is Jeff Culhane. For all your Florida State baseball needs, keep it locked into Seminoles.com. And go Noles!